Welcome to Humanities Studies. This is the second lecture in the series of Introduction to Mass Communication. Today, we are going to talk about noise in a communication process and its types. So, let's start. Noise refers to any interference or distortion that can affect the clarity, accuracy, or effectiveness of a message being transmitted from a sender to a receiver. Noise forms barriers to the effective communication. Therefore, it is also called as barriers to communication. There are several types of barriers that can affect the effectiveness of a communication process. Few are mentioned here: physical barrier, psychological barrier, semantic barrier, cultural barrier and mechanical barrier, cultural barrier, etc. For example, physical noise can include things like loud background noise, poor lighting, or a weak signal that can make it difficult for the receiver to hear or see the message clearly. Semantic noise can include language barriers or unfamiliar vocabulary that can make it difficult for the receiver to understand the message. Psychological noise can include distractions, biases, or emotional states that can affect the receiver's ability to interpret the message. Finally, cultural noise can include differences in cultural backgrounds, values, or beliefs that can affect the interpretation of the message. Overall, noise can have a significant impact on the communication process, making it important for both the sender and receiver to be aware of potential sources of interference and take steps to minimize their effects. This can include using clear and concise language, avoiding technical jargon or unfamiliar words, and being aware of cultural differences that may impact how a message is received. Additionally, it can be helpful to minimize external distractions, such as background noise or other interruptions, to ensure that the message is received as clearly as possible. Effective communication is essential for the success of any organization or relationship. However, there are several barriers that can hinder the communication process. These barriers can be physical or psychological in nature and can make it difficult for individuals to communicate effectively. Physical barriers to communication are the most obvious and easily removable obstacles to successful correspondence. These barriers can include factors such as noise, closed doors, faulty equipment used for communication, closed cabins, and so on. For example, if two individuals are trying to communicate in a noisy environment, such as a construction site, the background noise can make it difficult to hear and understand each other. Similarly, if the equipment used for communication, such as a phone or computer, is faulty, it can lead to miscommunication and misunderstandings. In some cases, physical barriers can be more severe, such as the physical separation between employees in a large office. This can make it difficult for individuals to communicate effectively, leading to misunderstandings and a lack of collaboration. Psychological barriers to communication are another type of obstacle that can hinder effective communication. These barriers can include mental and emotional issues such as stage fright, speech impediments, fear, depression, and so on. These conditions can be challenging to manage and can limit the ease of communication. For example, an individual with stage fright may have difficulty communicating effectively in front of a large audience, leading to a lack of confidence and clarity in their message. Similarly, an individual with a speech impediment may struggle to articulate their thoughts clearly, leading to misunderstandings and a lack of clarity in their message. In addition to these barriers, there are also cultural and language barriers that can hinder effective communication. These barriers can include differences in language, customs, or social norms that can impact how a message is received and interpreted. For example, if a person from one culture is communicating with someone from a different culture, there may be differences in how they interpret certain words or phrases. Overall, it is important to be aware of these barriers and take steps to overcome them in order to communicate effectively. This can include using clear and concise language, avoiding technical jargon or unfamiliar words, and being aware of cultural differences that may impact how a message is received. Additionally, it can be helpful to minimize external distractions, such as background noise or other interruptions, to ensure that the message is received as clearly as possible. In conclusion, physical and psychological barriers to communication can hinder effective communication and lead to misunderstandings and a lack of collaboration. By being aware of these barriers and taking steps to overcome them, individuals can communicate more effectively and achieve greater success in their personal and professional lives. Semantic barriers to communication occur when individuals use language that is not understood by the receiver. This can occur when technical jargon or unfamiliar words are used, making it difficult for the receiver to understand the message. Additionally, language can take on different meanings in different cultures, leading to misunderstandings and confusion. For example, if a doctor is explaining a medical condition to a patient using complex medical terminology, the patient may not fully understand the message. Similarly, if a person from one culture is communicating with someone from a different culture, there may be differences in how they interpret certain words or phrases. Cultural barriers to communication occur when individuals from different cultures have different values, beliefs, and customs that impact how they communicate. As the world becomes increasingly globalized, it is common for large offices to have individuals from several regions of the world. These cultural differences can impact how individuals communicate with each other. For example, different cultures may have different meanings for certain gestures or body language. Additionally, dressing, religions or lack of them, food, drinks, pets, and overall behavior can vary significantly from one culture to another. These differences can lead to misunderstandings and a lack of collaboration. To overcome semantic barriers to communication, it is important to use clear and concise language that is easily understood by the receiver. Avoiding technical jargon or unfamiliar words can help ensure that the message is received as intended. Additionally, it can be helpful to provide context and examples to help the receiver understand the message. To overcome cultural barriers to communication, it is important to be aware of cultural differences and take steps to accommodate them. This can include learning about different cultures and their customs, being respectful of cultural differences, and adapting communication styles to better suit the receiver's cultural background. Overall, it is important to be aware of these barriers and take steps to overcome them in order to communicate effectively. This can include using clear and concise language, avoiding technical jargon or unfamiliar words, and being aware of cultural differences that may impact how a message is received. Additionally, it can be helpful to minimize external distractions, such as background noise or other interruptions, to ensure that the message is received as clearly as possible.